From Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
Tonight on News Hour, fuel scarcity in Abuja takes toll on daily life. Man-hour loss on long queues. Commuters battle transport hike. Parents, students express anger with 4-week ASU strike. National Bureau of Statistics says inflation drops to 15.60% from 15.63% as presidential aide questions validity of the statistics. And on the foreign scene, Ethiopia Parliament votes to lift state of emergency early. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Hour. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. The news in full. Lingering fuel scarcity in Abuja is taking its toll on motorists whose frustration from man-hour loss on long queues translates into transport fare hike for commuters. The situation is dire as long queues obstruct free flow of traffic, causing unnecessary congestion. Trust TV's Nafisa Abdul-Al reports on the situation.
Long queues persist across fueling stations in the FCT days after it was discovered that petrol being supplied into the country is adulterated. Although the NNPC and other stakeholders are trying to curb the problem, the situation still persists and has left Nigerians filled with frustration and anger over not just the situation but the overall economic situation of the country. The fuel scarcity issue has left motorists on long queues at filling stations as some abandon their vehicles, waiting their turn to purchase petrol.
The situation is so sad, For one to abandon his office to come and seek for fuel is a very appalling situation. I've been here over 5 hours. I say I came in here around 6:30. They say they will start by 10. By 10:30 they kick off. So up till now, we are still hoping that before the end of today we'll get fuel. Well, black market, they are not helping matter. Just that if you are in a desperate situation, you patronize them. But what type of fuel are you buying? That is the thing.
The situation now, you can actually use money a day here. Since 7 o'clock a day, I never get the fuel. I feel so uncomfortable for the fuel. If I get the fuel now, it's suffer. So before I go to work now, time don't go. Black market, because they sell 5,000 for 10 liter, 5,000. Because they buy that 10 liter now for black market, I can't do work. They buy it now, how much I will eat, how much I carry go house. They run the Zuba. So from here to Zuba now is 600, 500, 600. Because the way we take buy the fuel, that's why we will take do the work.
So bad, so painful. In fact, we left all. Can see people are standing by. We left all to stand. We are in the sun. When you met me, we were in the sun, waiting for the queue to move. You see, all you can see is this black market all over, and the price they are selling. As at on Friday, I passed here. They told me 3,000. Today now they are calling 7,000. At least they say today is 6,000. So it's unbearable.
New or not, we live on trust. We have trust that if we buy black market, we can be able to move around. If at the end of buying the black market, your motor refuses to move, it is part of the trust. So it is terrible.
Other passers-by and commuters are equally affected by the situation as heavy traffic congestion obstructs the free flow of vehicles. The fuel scarcity problem has forced many Nigerians into dire situations in the sense that they are purchasing petrol from black market sellers at exorbitant prices even without being sure of the content of the product. Nafisa Abdul-Al, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, scarcity of petroleum products being witnessed in some parts of the country following the importation of adulterated fuel has hit Port Harcourt, the River State capital. Many petrol stations are without the product, while the few dispensing have long queues. The report.
Many petrol stations are without the product, while few dispensing have long queues. Some motorists in Port Harcourt called for the repairs of the nation's refineries to avoid a repeat of the present situation. They also advised federal government to ensure those responsible for the importation of adulterated petrol are made to face the law.
I'm a victim of the adulterated petrol. I purchased a petroleum product from a filling station beside the filling station Propel along the East-West Road after Romodara. and the thing messed up my engine, messed up my generator.
Government should work our refineries. Let our refineries work so that they will stop this importation of fuel and adulterated fuel. We are suffering. Cost of maintenance is very, very high. Please tell the federal government, let the president hear it. Let the minister for petroleum hear it also. We are suffering. Let them repair our refineries that are moribund. For many years, they come and give us fake promises. They will not do any work. Look at the queue now. It's uncalled for.
They are supposed to repair our refinery because we are suffering for this fuel matters.
Actually, we want the government to do something possible for we to have a sound refinery so that we will not be able to face all these things that is happening in the country.
As at the time of filing the report, 10 liters of petrol is sold for 2,500 from the roadside sellers.
President Muhammadu Buhari is asking the National Assembly to approve the sum of 2.557 trillion supplementary budget for petrol subsidy from July to December in the 2022 budget framework. Buhari's request is contained in a letter read on the floor of the Senate at the commencement of Tuesday's plenary by President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan. The report.
President Buhari, in his request, noted that the supplementary budget became necessary in order to accommodate the recently approved continuation of fuel subsidy regime. Recall that the federal government had reversed its earlier plan to end the fuel subsidy regime by June this year over what analysts considered as political. Consequently, an additional provision for 2.557 trillion naira be appropriated by the National Assembly in the 2022 budget to provide fully for the fuel subsidy regime.
Following the suspension of the PMS subsidy removal, the 2022 budget framework has been revised to fully provide for PMS subsidy. An additional provision of 2.557 trillion naira will be required to fund the petroleum subsidy in 2022. Consequently, the Federation account main pool revenue for the three tiers of government is projected to decline by 2 trillion naira, while federal government's share from the account is projected to reduce by 1.05 trillion naira. Therefore, the amount available to fund the federal government budget is projected to decline by 969.09 billion naira. Aggregate expenditure is projected to increase by 45.85 billion naira due to additional domestic debt service provision of 102.5 billion naira net of the reductions in statutory transfers by 56.67 billion naira as follows.
Director General of Michael Imodu Institute of Labour Studies and former Vice President, Nigeria Labour Congress, Isa Aremu, wants members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, and government to look at likely consequences of incessant strike actions with a view to finding solutions to the university crisis. Aremu, in an interview with Trust TV, notes that children of the poor will be affected if the strike becomes reality, as the rich will find an alternative. Nearly 10 million children, according to him, are already out of school and should not be burdened with the strike, which could further compound the problem.
All the parties should look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture in the case of, what do you call it now, the university is the students. And in this case, students of the poor, who are going to lose their academic calendar. We are all children who came from humble home. Today, we are what we are today. If we shut down the public university, as we may possibly be said to do if this strike becomes a reality, the children of the rich will be going to school, who can go to private university. 10 million children are out of school in Nigeria. So when we say Nigeria is in trouble, Nigeria has grade. It has grade.
Meanwhile, parents and students in Gombe State have reacted angrily to the 4-week strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. While the students highlight effects of the strike on their studies, some parents blame the federal government over the lingering industrial action. Ibrahim Ismail reports.
After the declaration of a 1-month warning strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, many Nigerians are worried with the development, especially students.
Actually, this strike has destabilized our plans of graduation. Instead of us to graduate in a good time as our calendar has said, it has been increased due to all these strikes that we have been ongoing. From the inception, from the time we started school, this is the second time we are going into strike. Instead of graduating by this year, we are still extended to next year or a time we don't know to graduate. That's how it has affected our studies.
Even now, me, I'm 300 level now. It's supposed to be what? I'm supposed to be in 400 level, and now I am in 300 level because that sense that we have made, it will affect our life, our studies. And still now, we are in 300 level.
Gaskiya, I'm not feeling fine about that strike because it affects my future. I want to graduate in. It's supposed to me to graduate in 2023, but now it must become to the 2024 before I graduate.
ASUU had declared a 1-month warning strike over what it called failure of the federal government to address some of its demands. Some Nigerians, including parents who speak to Trust TV, blame the federal government over incessant strike by Nigerian lecturers.
My take as a parent is that the ASUU issue will definitely affect the students. The bottom line is that it is the students that will suffer it. But incidentally, the federal government are not doing the needful. Most of all these people that are holding sensitive position at the federal level, none of their children is schooling here in Nigeria. And that is why when the issue of education comes into play, they downplay it. They don't take it seriously. And what is it? If these people are demanding genuinely that we promote academic welfare of our children here in the country, I don't see a reason why government should not do the needful. As the parents, children, it will increase the crime, it increase the lawlessness, increase a lot of social vices, because they are staying at home without education will create a lot of problems, and we the parents will suffer for it. So the federal government should do the needful so that issue of strike should be reduced.
From the government side, there is lack of seriousness. Even though I cannot blame the government 100%, but this issue has to be tackled once and for all. It's an issue of education. We don't have to joke with it. No country is working with their educational, health, and agricultural issue. But in Nigeria, the case is the reverse is the case. So I'm calling on the federal government to take this seriously, to at least call the attention of the ASUU, their management, what they sign and agree, let them give them what they sign. They have it. The federal government have it.
As it stands, Nigerian students are strongly calling on the federal government to resolve issues with ASUU to allow them continue with their studies. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
Now, accurate population and housing census data could be used as an effective tool in tackling the rising spate of insecurity affecting most parts of the country by unearthing unnecessary demographic data. The chairman, National Population Commission, Nasir Kwara, stated this in an exclusive interview with Trust TV. The NPC chairman said that Nigeria's population growth can positively impact national development if the available human resources can be effectively harnessed through the provision of vital infrastructure and creating an enabling environment for Nigerians to thrive. He said the commission will deploy the necessary technology to ensure the efficacy and accuracy of data captured in the census exercise.
We rely heavily on satellite imageries as well as handheld devices that we use to ask respondents to respond to questionnaires. Questionnaire itself not going to be in ink and paper, so it is the handheld device. The questionnaires have been built into it. Ask questions. The response is keyed into the handheld device, and we using the reference data that already obtained of the house, the building, and the households in the building. We will now generate this data, ask the questions that are in the questionnaire, the response are keyed in, and then we upload into our database at the headquarters.
According to the MPC boss, implementing the ongoing census preparatory activities and the upcoming census is cost-effective and require active involvement of the entire citizenry through enlightenment, publicity and dissolving prejudices and apathy aimed at eliciting the enthusiastic response of stakeholders. Kwara notes that it is a task that the Commission cannot undertake alone without the goodwill and support of all Nigerians, while assuring that the 2022 census methodology will capture people who have been displaced from their usual places of residence into IDP camps and other places as a result of insurgency. He called on Nigerians to view the census as a means of ensuring equal distribution of resources and infrastructure rather than a tool for population control.
Census is meant to provide data so that government can manage the population, because with census data you are able to plan for socio-economic interventions in education, in health, science and technology. You also intervene providing infrastructure, roads, rails, power, and so on and so forth. You don't go and build a gigantic school in a place there's no population. So you have to really check the available data of the area before you can plan for infrastructure.
The last census exercise in Nigeria was held in 2006, and the 2022 population and housing census is expected to be carried out before the end of this year, subject to presidential approval. You're watching Trust TV News Hour. Still to come on the news: scarcity of yam inevitable? This and more after the break. Do stay with us.
Coronavirus disease, COVID-19, is an infectious disease caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus. Most people who fall sick with COVID-19 will experience mild to moderate symptoms and recover without special treatment. However, some will become seriously ill and require medical attention. The virus can spread from an infected person's mouth or nose in small liquid particles when they cough, sneeze, speak, sing, or breathe. These particles range from larger respiratory droplets to smaller aerosols. You can be infected by breathing in the virus if you're near someone who has COVID-19, or by touching a contaminated surface and then touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. The virus spreads more easily indoors and in crowded settings. Maintain a safe distance from others, at least 2 meters, even if they don't appear to be sick. Wear a mask in public, especially indoors or when physical distancing is not possible. Clean your hands often. Use soap and water or an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth with your bent elbow or a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Stay home if you feel unwell. Get vaccinated. Properly fitted masks can help prevent the spread of the virus from the person wearing the mask to others. Masks alone do not protect against COVID-19 and should be combined with physical distancing and hand hygiene. Protect yourself and others around you by knowing the facts and taking appropriate precautions. Follow advice provided by your local health authority. This message is brought to you by Trust TV.
Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update.
I'm Zainab Bala. For more news, follow us across all our social media platforms.
The nightmare that most of these Pape residents have dreaded for many years is finally happening.
The place is a skeleton of itself, a place that was once busy with patients trooping in and out.
I'm standing right now. I'm standing on top of the Maloney Hill in the ancient city of Kefi.
Cooperation. I know communities where they are contributing
to buy locally manufactured guns to defend themselves.
Being a Nigerian entrepreneur, and I am going to be taking you on a journey to show you the beautiful, the motivational and resilient nature of Nigerian entrepreneurs.
Behind me is the Arewa Textile Mill, established in 1963 and eventually closed down in 2004.
We are still going into some other hideouts to see if any apprehensions will be made tonight.
Let's travel down to Shekau, a community in Yobe State, to talk to Shekau's mother on what she thinks about this development.
Well, even to be a magistrate is a funny thing.
Yes. Have things changed? Is there more corruption now in the judiciary? And what can we do about it?
Well, this is one of the internally displaced camps here in Gusau, the Zamfara state capital.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Trust TV News Hour. Let's take a look at our top stories. Lingering fuel scarcity in Abuja is taking its toll on motorists whose frustration from man-hour loss on long queues translates into transport fare hike for commuters. And parents and students in Gombe State have reacted angrily to the 4-week strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. And moving on to other news now, concerns over safety, side effects of the COVID vaccine have been identified as factors fueling vaccine hesitancy, even among those who have taken the first jab of the vaccine. National Primary Healthcare Development Agency said the hesitancy is due to misinformation and disinformation circulating the media space. The agency, however, assures citizens of the safety of the vaccine as critical to achieving public health immunization goals.
I do know some people it's injection, you know. I took the first dose, I don't want to go back. Some because it has mild side effects, like having just being feverish, which as we said, we wear off in a few days, which is what we have. These side effects actually wear off, and that is why till date, we don't have any record of any fatality from the vaccination. So, but people, because they've taken one, they feel that erroneously that I've taken one as well, I'm protected, which is not correct. And this is the perception we are also trying to address. That having just the first dose does not provide enough protection for the individual. So we encourage people to have the courage, the boldness to go for the second dose and even the booster dose. We vaccinated over 16 million as at yesterday, as at 14th of February. We've had no case of serious side effects that led to hospitalization. Neither have we had any death. So what other evidence do we need to know that this vaccine is very safe? It's safe. If it's not safe, we have WHO will not approve it anyway. Neither will NAFDAC, our own NAFDAC, certify it fit for use on humans in Nigeria.
Now to matters of politics. Federal Capital Territory Area Council elections has thrown up challenges to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and other stakeholders in the nation's electoral process ahead of the 2023 elections. Failure of the bimodal voter accreditation machine featured prominently once again. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman engages stakeholders on the best way to address lessons learned from the area council election as the nation moves closer to the 2023 general elections. The report.
Some of the major challenges encountered during the election were malfunctioning of the bimodal voter accreditation system, VBAS, votes buying, voter apathy, and late arrival of election materials to the polling units.
We need to sit back as a commission to take a second look at the functionality of the BVAS, but we believe that the BVAS did not have any challenge. That the challenge we experienced had to do with the ad hoc staff. Some of them got overwhelmed by the situation, and some of them apparently did not pay attention to the protocols that they were supposed to follow when they have any challenge with the BVAS.
And if we have also tested it at this level with this number of glitches, it is a recipe for conflict if it is a bigger election and somebody is having a feeling that he's been disenfranchised. So it is important that lessons drawn from these failures of technology should be taken back, and of course a lot of effort should be put into redesigning or updating the software.
Though some of the challenges are considered traditional due to their consistent appearance in every election cycle, the prevalence of vote buying and selling undermines efforts to recruit credible leaders that will guarantee dividends of democracy to the electorates.
I think that the media has a responsibility to expose those who go to the polling units to go and corrupt the electoral process. These people are not ghosts. These people are known. These people have a face. These people have an identity. And we see all these people, and then we try to treat them with kid gloves because they are politicians, and some of them are welcome.
Since the emergence of stomach infrastructure, we have seen a lot of emergence of people who are willing to sell their franchise. So it is a case of somebody trying to sell his birthright just for a plate of porridge. And it is obviously so, because Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world.
Building public confidence in Nigeria's electoral process breeds voter apathy, which in turn affects the credibility of the outcome. Addressing these challenges, stakeholders say, became imperative to restore citizens' confidence in the polity.
There were a number of polling units that witnessed zero turnouts, and that for me is a very serious lesson. What does it tell us? It tells us very clearly that there are a number of people that are trying to ambush our democratic process, and the ambush of democracy will not come from any form of strangulation. It will come from apathy. When you put every infrastructure for voting in place and you don't find citizens turning out to vote, it tells you that there is a trust deficit.
As far as the commission is concerned, the fingerprint technology and the facial technology has come to stay, and it's a global technology with global standards, and Nigeria is not an exception. And we believe that the BVAS will lead us to a direction that will make our elections very, very clean, make our election conform to both regional and international standards.
As the nation's electoral empire pledges to continue to perfect the processes and conduct of every election cycle, concerns remain on the need for stakeholders to support the electoral management body to deliver credible polls that will bring about the desired change in managing the affairs of the country. Shapir Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And still talking politics, Zamfara state government threatens to demolish office of the former governor of the state, Abdulaziz Yari-led faction of the APC in the state. Special advisor to the Zamfara state governor on urban regional planning, Anas Abdullahi, said he had served the Abdulaziz Yari faction of the party with eviction notice to remove billboards or get it demolished. The report.
The commissioner claimed that there is no any faction in Zamfara state except that of the governor Bello Mutawallis, and therefore all billboards of any APC in the state must be removed as they contravene the law establishing the Zamfara State Urban and Regional Planning Board, ZUREP.
That APC office, they have not followed the rules for the ZUREP. Number one, no any paper and no any document, no any file that they come here and just before they collect the billboard. We cross-check and we find out before we go around. And we give them the quick notice, 8 hours to remove it. If they didn't remove it, so we know the action that we are going to take. I cannot tell anybody the action that we are going to take, but we are going to take what the law of ZUREP says. So as they come and place the billboard and paint the logo of APC for their house, is wrong.
The special advisor denies that the move is politically motivated, warning any development without approval for building or installation of billboard in the state from the board will not be spared.
The only APC that we have is the one that Dr. Bello Maradon is leading. As let me tell you one thing, the national APC chairman, acting national APC chairman, Memalabuni, he come to Zamfara and he announced saying that they dissolve all the caretakers. And the leader of that APC is the governor, that serving governor. So anybody who wants to join APC, you have to follow Dr. Bello Matola Marado, not Abdulaziz Yari. And he said even the membership card, he deserves it. No anyone, no any member out of Abdulaziz Yari that come and register for this new register. How am I going to call them as a APC member? They are not an APC member. Don't ever try to call them as a APC member.
The special advisor, Anas Abdullahi, while on inspection around the state capital, Gusau, on a routine operation, appealed to political parties and their supporters to desist from placing illegal billboards and posters at the roundabout and other landmark infrastructures. He says Zamfara State Urban and Regional Planning Board is poised to ensure residents of the state, especially developers and politicians, comply with the law for the overall progress and development of the state.
National Orientation Agency is collaborating with the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, to develop a national integrity policy aimed at not only boosting the nation's international outlook, but also imbibe the core values of integrity and trust among citizens. Director General of the agency, Garba Abari, said this during a patriotism orientation program in Abuja tagged "Fall in Love with Nigeria, My Role in Making Nigeria of My Dreams." Abari said that Nigeria is gradually becoming one of the most disrespected nations in the world due to the citizens' attitude to one another and others. He added that Nigerians have gradually forgotten the labor of heroes past, calling on citizens to work with the government to promote peace and unity in the country.
Our country is actually passing through very difficult moments. We are all stakeholders in security and peace building, and we must all take action in supporting government's efforts in sustaining peace and security in the country. Our forefathers worked together to achieve independence for us, irrespective of their ethnic affiliations. We cannot afford to fritter away the dividends of the labors of our heroes past because of our newfound tendency for sectionalism and the parochial interests. We must note that while we used to be the most respected African nation for obvious reasons, we have gradually become one of the most vilified, one of the most scrutinized and disrespected nations on earth, largely because of our own poor attitudes to ourselves and others. We need therefore for a national salary discovery. The need therefore for a national salary discovery is incumbent on us.
Any nation that fails to cultivate and bring its youth along in the process of nation building and development does so at its own peril. In realization of this truism, the ICPC introduced a number of platforms aimed at engaging young people effectively in the fight against corruption and the promotion of ethics and integrity. Notable amongst these platforms are the anti-corruption clubs that we have established over the years in secondary schools, the anti-corruption vanguards in tertiary institutions, and the NYSC Anti-Corruption Community Development Service that we ingrain amongst core members.
Now, producers and suppliers of yam in Niger State have expressed concern over the looming scarcity and high cost of yam due to persistent attacks on yam farming communities in the state. Checks by Trust TV on major yam markets in the state showed low supply with high demand despite the cost. Niger State produces about 2.3 metric tons of yam, representing 10% of annual total yam production. Correspondent Abubakar Akoche has more.
Niger State is one of the major yam producing states in Nigeria. Studies have shown that the state produces over 2.3 metric tons, representing more than 10% of the total yam produced in Nigeria annually. Niger is one of the states to buy yam at a very low cost, but the recent security challenges facing the major yam producing local government areas of Shiroro, Munya, Paikoro, Rafi, Boso, and Mariga, where many farmers have been killed, several others and thousands displaced, has affected the production and supply of the product. The state supplies yam in large quantity to many states and towns in Nigeria, including Lagos, Ekiti, Oyo, Kano, and Warri, as well as the Republic of Niger and Algeria. checks on major yam markets in Paiko, Garatu, and Jere, as well as Kure Market and Kaswangwari Mina, showed low supply of yam and high demand despite the cost this year.
There are differences between this year and last year. Yam is very expensive this year because this yam you can see, this is a seed yam. At last year you bought this one at the rate of 10,000, by now it's now 17 to 18,000. So the problem of insecurity in Nigeria has affected the food item all over the nation because a lot of farmers, they can no longer produce their farmland, take less of coming into the market. So a lot of farmers, they have run away from their village, coming back inside them. So how they come, there's no alternative for them to brought their food products into the market.
Yams have rotten in your farms, and those ones you cannot give them back again. That is why there is scarcity of yam this year. We are afraid of bandits. We cannot go to farm.
This year and last year, there's a lot of differences. Last year, trailer, you can full a trailer with 10 million naira. But this year, if you want to full a trailer, you have to hold 15 to 16 million naira. Yeah. And if you want to full 12 tire or 6 tire this year, 6 tire you can full with 7 to 7.5 to 8 million this year. And last year, it was not more than 4 million. Yeah.
As the new rainy season draws closer, farmers have expressed worry over the non-availability and high cost of yam seedlings. A cross-section of yam sellers and farmers have predicted the looming scarcity of yam in the coming years if the current attacks on yam farming communities in the state persist. Abubakar Akote, Trust TV.
Now, the Northern Consensus Movement wants both federal government and state governors in the south to secure the lives of northerners in their states. President of the movement, Awal Aliu, told journalists in Abuja that governors of Anambra, Benue and Ondo states have failed to protect northerners living in their states. The movement is also demanding compensation from government on behalf of victims of various attacks and their families.
Decisive action by giving special protection to the lives and properties of Nigerians and northerners in particular resident in the state before the issue escalates into an unbearable or uncontrollable and unimaginable situation. Our Fulani brothers continue to face challenges of dehumanization, killings of their cows, stealing and extortion by the so-called lifeguard in Benue State. Governor Akeredolu, son, should be called to order for his uncomplimentary comment before he destroyed the existing political arrangement between the North and the South. We are calling on the federal government to kindly expedite action on the payment of compensation to the NSAS, Shasha Akinyele market killings and the IPOP ESN victims of northern extraction that were killed during the violent protests in the South. Because of the families of those affected are becoming so agitated and anything can happen any moment from now.
And Committee on Restructuring and Rationalization of the Federal Government Parastatals, Agencies and Commissions, and Committee to Review New Agencies created after the submission of the Steve Oronsaye report are being studied for effective implementation of their recommendation. The Director General of the Bureau for Public Service Reforms and member of Subcommittee, Dasuki Arabi, said federal government is determined to carry out recommendations by the committees to ensure the implementation of white paper on the Oronsaye report. Arabi said this when he featured on the News Agency of Nigeria special interview program Forum in Abuja. The Director General also said the introduction of the Treasury single account has reduced corruption in Nigeria by about 80%.
It is effective. Yes, it is. I don't have the figures exactly, but I know it is effective. Effective in the sense that if you are importing goods worth 1 billion naira and you are not smuggling them through the borders, they are coming into the port, you must pay tax. You must pay duties. You can't pay duties with cash. They must be paid online to Treasury single account. So I think it has reduced abuses around that by more than 80%, if not 90%. We have problems with agencies at the kick-up of the program. because some of them run their services based on what they are able to generate as revenue. Now, whatever you generate goes into an account that you cannot touch. So if we have an account that customers pay into, it will be difficult for anybody to touch that money. Other things may be happening around under the table, but as I said, the backrock of all this work we are doing is the digitalization that we are doing. Where you have a container coming in from China, and the bill of lading, all the documents are electronically transmitted to Nigeria. The agencies responsible, Inland Revenue Service, Nigerian Customs, Shippers Council, Port Authority. It will be difficult for anybody to change anything on it because it has gone, it's in the system. So I'm confident that it has reduced corruption by more than 70 to 80%. And as we get deep into the reforms, there will be no space for us to touch one or two things. Where you don't meet anybody, you pay all your things online, it will be difficult for anybody to convince you to get 1 or 2 kobo out of you. Okay.
You're still watching Trust TV News Hour. The news continues after this. Stay with us.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Coronavirus disease, COVID-19, is an infectious disease caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus. Most people who fall sick with COVID-19 will experience mild to moderate symptoms and recover without special treatment. However, some will become seriously ill and require medical attention. The virus can spread from an infected person's mouth or nose in small liquid particles when they cough, sneeze, speak, sing, or breathe. These particles range from larger respiratory droplets to smaller aerosols. You can be infected by breathing in the virus if you're near someone who has COVID-19 or by touching a contaminated surface and then touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. The virus spreads more easily indoors and in crowded settings. Maintain a safe distance from others at least 2 meters even if they don't appear to be sick. Wear a mask in public, especially indoors or when physical distancing is not possible. Clean your hands often. Use soap and water or an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth with your bent elbow or a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Stay home if you feel unwell. Get vaccinated. Properly fitted masks can help prevent the spread of the virus from the person wearing the mask to others. Masks alone do not protect against COVID-19 and should be combined with physical distancing and hand hygiene. Protect yourself and others around you by knowing the facts and taking appropriate precautions. Follow advice provided by your local health authority. This message is brought to you by Trust TV.
Welcome back to Trust TV News Hour. Now a look at business news. In the latest Consumer Price Index released by the National Bureau of Statistics for the month of January 2022, Nigeria's head inflation rate has dropped to 15.60%. This was disclosed by the Statistician General, Dr. Simon B. Harry, during a press briefing held in Abuja. Chamun Dabeng has more on this.
Nigeria's inflation rate has shown a 0.03% decline after an uptick that broke the 8-month downward trajectory inflation was on before December 2021. Inflation rates went from 15.4% in November to 15.63%, an increase which is said to be caused by an increase in prices of goods and services as a result of an upsurge in their demand during the festive season. The current headline inflation of Nigeria, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, dropped to 15.6% in January 2022. Urban inflation rate increased by 16.17% year-on-year. On a month-on-month basis, the urban index rose by 1.53% in January 2022. Rural index currently stands at 16.31% compared to 16.4% recorded in December 2021. Composite food index rose by 17.13% in January 2022 compared to 20.57% in January 2021. A rise which Dr. Harry attributed to an increase in prices of bread and cereals, food products like potatoes, yam and other tubers, soft drinks, oils and fats and fruits. Finally, core inflation, which excludes the prices of volatile agricultural produce, stands at 13.87% in January 2022, representing a 2.02% increase. The highest increases were recorded in prices of electricity, liquid fuel, wine, tobacco, spirit, solid fuels, cleaning, repair and hire of clothing, shoes and footwear. Senior Special Assistant to President Muhammadu Buhari on Public Affairs, Ajuri Ngolale, has questioned the validity of NBS figures, as according to him, they do not reflect the current market realities.
The same statistics you cited from the NBS in terms of poverty rate, particularly unemployment rate, suggested or stated very explicitly that in 2013, 2014, 2015, somewhere in that range, I believe it was 2014, that the unemployment rate in the nation, this was from NBS, the same NBS you cited, that the unemployment rate in the nation was 8%. 8, that is 8, less than 10%, 8%.
Okay? Now it's at 3%.
Yeah, I'm sorry?
Unemployment rate today is at 3%.
I'm coming. So 8% was the claim at that time, 2015 period. Now, I ask you this question.
Yeah.
As a Nigerian who is being honest, you're on TV, everybody's watching us, right? Now, would you agree that any time within your lifetime, in the last 30, 40 years, that in this country, Nigeria, that we're all living in 2015, 2014, 2013, that out of all of the adult population in the country, which is well over 100 million people, that 92 million out of 100 million working adults, even worse than that, I think it's something like 110 out of 130 million Nigerians, essentially, had access to jobs, had access to income in this country, and only 20 million out of 130 million didn't have access to any job as of 2014. That's how good things were. I'm coming, please. I need to land this point. That's how good things were in 2014, according to the NBS. We all know that that's a lie. We all lived in this country. We had siblings and friends and uncles, and we were in the society. We know that that's a lie.
Are you saying the NBS is lying?
I'm saying to you very clearly that the NBS has a serious problem with accurate data till today.
Reality on ground, where you fail to understand the processes, where you fail to actually seek for information, you are bound to be making very grievous mistake by just sitting down and condemning the numbers. The question you should be asking those Nigerians is, what is the basis of their condemnation? Well, it's unfortunate that even some top government functionaries go on the air and they are making careless statements. NBS does not have the workforce. NBS members are these. They just say that and this. You are all aware that we have our offices in all the states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. We have a strong workforce scattered all over. And in the event that we have any circle activity, the number required outweighs what we have a number. We do hire ad hoc staff to augment our workforce. So come to us, we take through the processes of computing the inflation rate. Come to us, we take you through the process of computing the poverty rate. For us, we follow the methodology as prescribed by the United Nations Statistics Division, and that is the methodology that NBS follow, and which by implication every country in the world follows. So if you have any other methodology contrary to the one that we use, please do well and come to us. I will do some comparison and then see whether we can get to a point of convergence. Otherwise, I can assure you that the best methodology is what we follow in computing the inflation rate, in computing the poverty rate, in computing the inflation unemployment rate, in computing the gross domestic rate, and computing the trade balance, and so forth and so forth.
The Statistician General defended the figures and clarified how they are obtained, while ensuring that the methodology used by the NBS is trustworthy. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News.
And now a look at the foreign scene, where Ethiopia's parliament has voted for an early end to a 6-month state of emergency declared last November when rebel Tigrayan forces were threatening to march on the capital, Addis Ababa. The lawmakers' decision comes on Tuesday after cabinet proposals last month about cutting short the emergency measures in light of improving security conditions in the country. Of the 312 lawmakers who attended this session, 63 opposed lifting the state of emergency, while 21 abstained from the vote. It is not immediately clear whether the state of emergency will be lifted on Tuesday, directly following Parliament's vote. The 6-month state of emergency allows, among other things, for roadblocks to be established, transport services to be disrupted, curfews to be imposed, and for the military to take over in certain areas. Meanwhile, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has invoked an emergency measure for the first time in the country's history to give his government more power to respond to ongoing anti-government trucker protests. In a news conference on Monday afternoon, Trudeau said he is invoking the Emergency Act, which allows the federal government to take special temporary measures for a period of 30 days during national emergencies. Anti-vaccine truckers and their supporters converged on the capital, Ottawa, late last month to demand Canada lift an order requiring truckers to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 to cross the land border with the United States. And now we will go over to Adeniyi Ajishafe for the latest in sports news.
African Fencing Confederation has approved Fencing Academy for Nigeria barely a week to the start of 2022 Cadet and Junior Fencing Championship taking place in Lagos. Sam Ray Fencing Academy will become functional after the hosting of African Championship to help accelerate the development of fencing sport in Nigeria. And in golf, Nigerian Golf Federation (NGF) has set up modality for the integration of Nigerian amateur golfers into World Handicap System (WHS). Nigerian Golf President Otumba Olusegun Rushewe says the process is an innovative software that allows amateur golfers know what is expected of them in 8 or 18-hole round of golf. Rushewe says custodian of golf, Royal and Ancient R&A wants Nigerian Golf Federation to choose 10 golf clubs to help members start the World Handicap System exercise, with 7 golf clubs incorporated so far. Handicap System is the latest software that enables golfers licensed with its handicap document. Nigerian golfers will now have their handicap recognized on the software in any part of the world, as it will also eliminate cheating in golf. Aside rating of golf courses in Nigeria, the World Handicap System called for greens to comply with international best practices, particularly on their sites, which should be at least 400 meters square and above. That's Sport News. I'm Adeniyi Ajishafe.
Now, cotton is one of Mali's main sources of export revenue after gold. But thousands of Malian cotton growers face sanctions imposed by ECOWAS in January, demanding countries close borders and suspend trade with Mali. Let's take a look.
Mahamadou Konate is a cotton farmer in western Mali. He expects a good harvest, yet he is worried. Growing the white gold is only half the battle. He still has to find a way to export it. But since the West African bloc, ECOWAS, imposed a trade embargo and shut borders with Mali over its military ruler's grip on power, the cotton sector is struggling.
Sanctions cause us a lot of difficulties because only 2% of the cotton is processed in Mali. The rest is exported abroad. If they sanction us, how will we sell our cotton?
Thousands of Malian cotton farmers like Mahamadou are sounding the alarm. The government buys all their cotton through the Malian Company for Textile Development. The firm controls the sector, from processing to overseas distribution. But since January, only a third of the cotton production made it through the borders before they shut.
We haven't felt it yet, but we really need to find a solution. If CMDT's reserves were to run out without us being paid, it would be a disaster.
The landlocked Sahel state's economy has suffered further damage from a brutal jihadist insurgency since 2012. Cotton is Mali's second export after gold and a key source of foreign exchange, explains cotton sector expert Abdel Rahman.
There are 4 million people currently working in the cotton sector, and cotton represents 15% of the national GDP. There are more than 400 billion CFA francs circulating in the cotton sector in a very good season.
This planting cycle is projected to produce 82,000 tons, compared to only 147,000 tons during the last one. Lured in by high prices set by the state, more producers turn to white gold. Meanwhile, the sanctions continue. The farmers now hope the gamble will pay off.
And with that, we wrap up Trust TV News Hour for tonight. Don't forget, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for staying with us.